3, 4.
Let me tell you how it will be. There's one for you, 19 for me. 'Cause I'm the tax man. Yeah, I'm the tax man. Should 5% appear too small? Be thankful I don't take it all. 'Cause I'm the tax man. Yeah, I'm the tax man. If you drive a car, I'll tax the street. If you try to sit, I'll tax your seat. If you get too cold, I'll tax the heat. If you take a walk, I'll tax your feet. Tax man. Cause I'm the tax man. Yeah, I'm the tax man. Don't ask me what I want it for. If you don't want to pay some more. Cause I'm the tax man. Yeah, I'm the tax man. Now my advice for those who die. Declare the pennies on your eyes. Cause I'm the tax man. Yeah, I'm the tax man. And you're working for no one but me.
Shout out! Thank you, friends, so much for joining us for another Sugar Lime Blue Sunday shout out. We have Joe, Dave, I'm Ashley of Sugar Lime Blue, and this Sunday shout out is going out to all of the taxpayers all over the globe. It's tax season here in the U.S., so we're giving a salute to all the taxpayers. So everybody, please like, share, subscribe. We'll see you next week with another shout out. Shout out!
Shout out.
They say, take that house and burn it down.
Did you pay your alms?
I paid my taxes. I don't want to. Actually, I didn't. I filed an extension.
I managed to, thank God for my wife, I managed to slide under the radar a little bit, and guess I shouldn't be broadcasting.
Maybe we edit that out.
Yeah. No, I mean, she worked it where I was good. I was good, so. Kudos to my wife, Jane.
It's an interesting thing being technically self-employed as a musician to pay taxes, and healthcare is an interesting thing here in the U.S. as a self-employed musician, and
All the stuff is an interesting go.
yeah.
So the Beatles, one of my favorite bands when I was a kid, for sure. So I didn't grow up in the Beatles era, but I'm my first remember. So this is hilarious. So I had this set of drumsticks that I got at like some lake town when I was on camping with my parents. And you remember 8-tracks?
Oh, hell yeah.
So do you remember how 8-tracks used to be in the cases? Mm-hmm. And they kind of had like the leather over them, but they had like a little padding in between them, so they were a little soft when you.
Perfect drum pads, man.
So I would put on Beatles records, and we would set up the 8-tracks in the floor, and me and my mom would have dance parties, and then sometimes I'd break out the drumsticks and pretend I was a drummer, and it was like. I was probably like 4 or 5 years old, maybe 6.
Oh, man.
And it was hilarious. But I loved the Beatles. And then as soon as I got a teenager, when I first got my first CD player, I know CDs were like cutting technology. Mm-hmm. The first
You skipped tapes.
16 of the first 20 CDs I bought were Beatles, all the Beatles albums. I had them all, and then I had the Past Masters. Remember they released all the singles from the Beatles separately?
Looking over the railing.
So I had them, and it was like I would just play those things out.
I would, I got a 45 of Hey Jude, and it had Revolution on the flip side, and my aunt gave it to me, and I played that thing till it wouldn't work anymore. It literally was, the grooves were gone. What I used to do when I was a kid was funny. I would lock myself in a room, and my dresser was like a recording, like an amplifier, and I'd have a tennis racket, and I'd run a rope into my dresser, and I would sit in there and pretend I was recording music.
So you play air guitar, kind of.
Yeah. Kind of like still, like now. But
was it always a bass?
No, I was. It
was guitar.
Guitar, but. Interesting story. Another interesting story. I remember when I saw the Beatles on Ed Sullivan. Probably shouldn't be saying that either. I'm dating myself here, but
I did not see that.
I remember looking at my mom and pointing at Paul and saying, "I want to be that guy."
Nice. Well, you got similar dressing habits to Paul. Also.
Yeah.
He's a very snappy dresser. That was one thing I was really impressed with their documentary. I was like, man, he comes in to record stuff and like
he's dressed to the nines.
I go in to record stuff. I'm in like sweatpants. He goes in to record stuff. He's in like an Armani.
Yeah. Well, when you got their money, you can afford Armani.
he was looking very, very dapper. So.
Yeah. But anyhow, that was. How did we get on Beatles after taxes? Probably.
Because it's
the song.
The song is the
Nobody wants to
Taxman.
talk about taxes.
I'd rather have more cupcakes like last week, man.
Oh, we didn't do cupcakes this week.
No cupcakes this week.
No.
Couldn't afford them. We had to pay taxes.
We had to pay taxes. Yeah, the taxman come take 95% of our cupcakes.
What was your first Beatles experience? Was it like Yellow Submarine or something as a kid?
Oh, I mean, I guess I listened to that. I didn't really have a huge experience with the Beatles in my childhood that I really recall. I mean, Yellow Submarine was kind of catchy, and I remember enjoying it, I guess, as a kid. But I think my first personal experience with the Beatles was maybe in high school, and one of my theater friends was always singing "Hey, You've Got to Hide Your Love Away" for some reason.
Yeah, that's a good song.
But it was just a piece of the chorus, and we didn't have Google then, so it wasn't until years later that I actually equated
it with the Beatles.
Yeah, but that was kind of my first.
Their music. The one thing about the Beatles is the music permeates all of culture.
Now, I will say this, though. With our daughter's first grade teacher, she was an excellent teacher. She allowed learning time with music. And so she would pick an artist, and a lot of times it was the Beatles. And she would play music while the kids were in, like, a learning mode, I guess you could say. And our daughter really enjoyed the Beatles because of that experience. I don't remember going, hey, listen to the Beatles, but she had a really diverse musical library even from first grade because the teacher was incorporating that into learning time, and she didn't make them sit still. They could get up and like bop around a little bit as long as they were doing their work and they got their work completed. They were allowed to not just have to sit still.
I think that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it was really good.
That's cool.
You guys have heard the curse, "May you live in interesting times."
Very interesting times.
Yeah. May you live in boring times.
May you live in boring times.
Cool. Well, hopefully the Taxman didn't hit you guys that hard, and let us know your first experience with the Beatles. Join the conversation below.
Join it.
Peace out.